The forest whispered secrets as King Alaric moved through the ancient trees. Autumn had painted the woodland in amber and gold, leaves crunching beneath his boots as he tracked a wounded stag. As Alpha of the Northern Territories, he rarely hunted alone, but today he'd needed solitude, a reprieve from the endless politics of court and the weight of his crown. His wolf stirred beneath his skin, senses heightened beyond human capability. The scent of pine and earth filled his nostrils. But something else caught his attention. A faint trace of smoke, barely perceptible, carried on the breeze. Alaric paused, lifting his head to better catch the scent. It wasn't the acrid smell of a forest fire, but the comforting aroma of a controlled hearth. Strange, they were deep in the Blackwood, miles from any settlement. His people knew better than to trespass here without permission. These woods belonged to the royal pack, and while he wasn't a cruel ruler, he was protective of his territory. Abandoning his hunt, Alaric changed course, following the scent. It led him deeper into the forest. To a part even he rarely visited, a rocky outcropping that rose from the forest floor like the spine of some ancient beast. The smoke grew stronger, but still subtle enough that only a wolf's keen senses could detect it. As he approached the rocks, he noticed something peculiar. Narrow gap between two boulders, barely visible unless you knew exactly where to look. The smoke emanated from within. Alaric narrowed his eyes, his wolf's vision piercing the shadows. This wasn't a natural formation. It was an entrance, cleverly disguised. Who would hide here? He murmured to himself, his deep voice barely audible. And why? Caution warred with curiosity. As king, he should call for his guards, have them secure the area before investigating. But something pulled at him, an instinct he couldn't ignore. His wolf, usually so calculated in its movements, urged him forward with unusual insistence. Alaric squeezed through the gap, finding himself in a narrow tunnel that sloped downward. The ceiling was low, forcing him to duck his head. The smoke grew stronger, mixed now with other scents, cooking meat, herbs, and something else. Something that made his wolf stand at attention. Children, wolf children, and beneath that a female scent. One that made his nostrils flare and his heart rate quicken inexplicably. The tunnel opened suddenly into a large cavern, illuminated by a small fire in its center. The smoke escaped through a natural chimney in the rock ceiling. The cave was surprisingly home of furs, and woven blankets covered the stone floor. Crude shelves had been carved into the walls, holding clay pots and bundles of dried herbs. A pot bubbled over the fire, filling the air with the aroma of rabbit stew. But it was the occupants that froze Alaric in place. Children, 12 of them, ranging from toddlers to adolescents, scattered around the cave in various states of play and rest. Some were fully human in appearance, others partially shifted with fur patches and pointed ears. And 2 were in complete wolf form, small pups wrestling near the fire. All bore the unmistakable scent of werewolves. And standing between them and Alaric, a crude spear pointed directly at his heart, was the most striking woman he'd ever seen. She was tall and lean, with strength evident in her stance. Wild auburn hair fell in tangled waves past her shoulders, framing a face smudged with dirt, but beautiful in its fierceness. Her eyes, a startling amber that seemed to glow in the firelight, held no fear, only determination and a warning. She wore simple clothes patched together from animal hides and what looked like scavenged fabric. "Take another step, and I'll put this through your heart," she said, her voice low and steady. King or not. The children had gone silent, the smaller ones scurrying behind the older ones, who positioned themselves protectively around the toddlers. They moved with the coordination of a pack that had practiced this maneuver many times. Alaric raised his hands slowly, showing he was unarmed. "I mean no harm," he said, keeping his voice gentle despite his shock. "I was hunting and followed the smoke. And now you've found us," she replied, not lowering her weapon. "What will you do with that knowledge, Alpha King?" The way she said his title, with a mixture of recognition and disdains, intrigued him. She knew who he was, yet showed none of the deference his position usually commanded. "That depends," he answered truthfully. On who you are and why you're hiding in my territory with 12 wolf children. A small boy, no more than 6, peeked out from behind an older girl. Is he going to hurt us, Luna? He asked, his voice trembling. Luna, the name suited her, wild and luminous. The woman Luna kept, her eyes fixed on Alaric. No, Finn, no one's going to hurt anyone. The threat in her voice was unmistakable. Alaric studied the children more carefully. They didn't look related. By blood, their coloring and features. To diversiate, they moved as a cohesive unit. Their clothes were clean, but worn. Their bodies thin, but not starved. And in their eyes, he saw a wariness that no child should possess. They're orphans, he realized aloud, from different packs. Something flickered across Luna's face, surprise. Perhaps that he'd deduced this so quickly. War orphans, she corrected, her voice hardening. From the border conflicts your father started, and you've done nothing to stop. The accusation stung, partly because there was truth in it. The northern territories had been at war with the southern packs for generations. A conflict Alaric had inherited, along with his crown, 3 years ago. Peace negotiations were ongoing, but progress was slow. The youngest is from your own pack, Luna continued, nodding toward a small girl with silver blonde hair, who couldn't be more than 3. Found her hiding under her dead mother's body when your soldiers raided a southern village last spring. Alaric felt sick. He'd ordered no such raid, which meant his commanders were acting without authorization. The politics of his court were more treacherous than he'd realized. I didn't know, he said quietly. Luna gave a bitter laugh. That's the problem with kings. They never do. One of the older boys stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Luna's arm. He was perhaps 14, with dark hair and eyes that held wisdom beyond his years. Luna, he said softly, he doesn't smell like a threat. Alaric was impressed. The boy's senses were well developed, if he could discern intent from scent at his age. Luna hesitated, then slowly lowered her spear, though she kept it ready. What do you want, King Alaric? The way she said his name sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. First, to understand, he replied honestly. How long have you been here? How have you managed alone? 3 years, she answered, after a moment. And we manage because we must. 3 years, since just before he took the throne. These children had been living in a cave, while he'd been ruling from his comfortable castle. Oblivious to their existence, a small girl with curly brown hair approached cautiously, sniffing the air around him. He smells like pine trees and thunder, she announced to the group, which seemed to ease some tension in the cave. Luna's lips twitched, almost forming a smile. Mira has the best nose among us, she explained. She can smell lies. Alaric crouched down to the child's level, careful to move slowly. And what does a lie smell like, little one? Like rotten eggs, Mira replied seriously. You don't smell like that. I'm glad to hear it, he said, equally serious. I don't like rotten eggs either. A few of the children giggled, breaking the tension further. Luna watched the interaction with guarded eyes, her posture still defensive, but less overtly hostile. You still haven't said what you intend to do, now that you've found us, she reminded him. Alaric stood, meeting her gaze directly. That depends on what you want. Luna, these children need proper care, education, protection. She cut in fiercely. They have me. One woman against the world, Alaric observed. Impressive, but unsustainable. We've managed this long, at what cost to yourself? Fee asked softly. Something vulnerable flashed in her eyes before she masked it. My costs are not your concern, Alpha King. But they were, Alaric realized, with startling clarity. Something about this fierce, protective woman and these resilient children had awakened a protective instinct in him that went beyond his duty as king. I propose a truce, he said. I'll keep your secret for now, but I'll return tomorrow, with supplies, food, medicine, warmer clothes for the coming winter. Luna's eyes narrowed suspiciously. And in return, for conversation, Alaric replied, about how we might end a war that's creating orphans faster than even you can save them. The older boy who had spoken earlier stepped forward again. "We should accept. Luna, winter is coming, and Kira's cough is getting worse." As if on cue, a thin girl of about 8, huddled in the corner, gave a painful, rattling cough that echoed in the cave. Alaric saw the conflict in Luna's ice pride warring with practicality. Suspicion with hope. He waited, giving her the space to make her own decision. Finally, she nodded once, a sharp, decisive movement. "Tomorrow, alone. If you bring guards, we'll be gone." "You have my word," Alaric promised. The oath binding in a way that went beyond mere words. His wolf recognized the importance of this moment. This meeting, that felt somehow fated, as he turned to leave. The smallest child, a boy, barely old enough to walk, toddled forward and grabbed his hand with sticky fingers. "Story?" he asked. Hopefully Luna moved to intercept, but Alaric was already crouching down again. "Next time, little one," he promised, gently ruffling the boy's hair. "I'll bring you a story about a brave wolf who saved his entire pack." The child beamed, revealing tiny fangs. Alaric stood and found Luna watching him with an unreadable expression. "Until tomorrow," he said. She nodded, still wary, but with something new in her eyes, a cautious, fragile hope. As Alaric made his way back through the tunnel and into the forest, his mind raced with plans. He would need to be careful, strategic about who he trusted with this discovery. These children and their fierce protector had survived this long by remaining hidden. But one thing was certain. His life had just changed irrevocably, and somehow, he knew, so had the future of his kingdom. Dawn broke over the Blackwood forest in a symphony of gold and crimson. Alaric moved silently through the trees, a heavy pack strapped to his back. He'd left his castle before first light, telling only his most trusted advisor, Thorn, where he was going, and even then, not the full truth. Some secrets weren't his to share. The pack contained everything he could think of that Luna and the children might need: dried meats and fruits, fresh bread, still warm from the castle ovens, funny, cheese, medical supplies, warm clothes, blankets, books, and small toys. He'd selected each item himself. Dismissing the servants' curious glances, as he approached the hidden entrance to the cave, Alaric paused, listening. His wolf's hearing detected movement inside, the soft padding of feet, whispered conversations, a child's laugh quickly hushed. They were awake and waiting. "I know you're there," he called softly. "I've come alone, as promised." A moment later, Luna appeared at the entrance, her spear in hand, though not raised threateningly. She looked even more striking in the morning light, her auburn hair catching fire in the sun, her amber eyes alert and assessing. She'd washed her face, he noticed, though her clothes were the same worn hides as yesterday. "You kept your word," she said, sounding faintly surprised. "I always do," Alaric replied simply. She studied him a moment longer, then stepped aside to let him enter. "The children have been up since before dawn, waiting. They've never received gifts before." The simple statement hit Alaric like a physical blow. Children who had never received gifts. What kind of world had he been ruling? Inside the cave, the scene was markedly different from yesterday. The space had been tidied, the fire built up to cast a cheerful glow. The children sat in a semicircle. Freshly washed faces turned toward him with expressions ranging from excitement to lingering wariness. "Alpha King," the little girl named Myra exclaimed, bouncing on her knees. "Did you bring thunder with you?" Alaric smiled, setting down his pack. "Just supplies today, little one. The thunder stays outside." The oldest boy, who Luna quietly identified as Rafe, approached and offered a formal bow. "Thank you for returning, Your Majesty." "Alaric," he corrected gently. "In this cave, I'm just Alaric." Luna watched this exchange with guarded eyes. "Children, give our guest some space." But Alaric shook his head. "It's fine. I brought things for everyone." He opened the pack, and the younger children gasped at the treasures revealed. Methodical distribution, Luna instructed firmly as tiny hands reached forward. Oldest to youngest, As always, the children immediately formed a line by age, a discipline that spoke volumes about the order Luna had established. Alaric handed out the supplies, taking care to give each child something specialer. Carved wooden wolf for Rafe, a colorful hair ribbon for a shy girl named Sira, a picture book for Mira, the smallest child, Tumas. He learned received a stuffed wolf pup that he immediately clutched to his chest with a look of wonder. Mine, he whispered. Yours, Alaric confirmed, something in his chest tightening at the child's disbelief. Throughout the distribution, Luna stood apart, arms crossed, watching. Only when all the children had received their gifts did Alaric approach her with a small package wrapped in cloth. "This is for you," he said quietly. Luna stared at the offering, making no move to take it. "I don't need gifts." "It's not a gift," Alaric countered. "It's a tool." Curiosity won out. She unwrapped the cloth to reveal a finely crafted hunting knife with a bone handle. The blade gleamed in the firelight, its edge wickedly sharp. "Silver-edged steel," Alaric explained, effective against both human and supernatural threats. Luna tested the balance of the knife, her experienced handling revealing her familiarity with weapons. "This is royal craftsmanship." "Yes, won't your weaponsmith wonder why you needed such a blade?" Alaric shrugged. "I'm the king. No one questions me." "Perhaps they should," Luna replied, but she tucked the knife into her belt. "Thank you." The children had scattered around the cave, examining their treasures. Kira, the girl with the cough, sat near the fire, wrapped in one of the new blankets, sipping a medicinal tea Alaric had brought. "Her lungs are weak," Luna explained, following his gaze. "Every winter, I fear, will be her last." "She needs a healer," Alaric said. "Proper medicine." "And how would I get that?" Luna challenged. "Walk into a village with 12 wolf children. We'd be killed or captured before nightfall." The bitter truth of her words hung between them. Werewolves were feared in many human settlements, and orphaned wolf children would be seen as dangerous at best, valuable commodities at worst. Some would sell them as exotic pets or warriors. Others would simply eliminate the perceived threat. "Not all humans fear our kind," Alaric said carefully. "Enough do," Luna countered, "and those who don't fear us often want to use us. Your father taught me that lesson well." There was a personal edge to her words that caught Alaric's attention. "You knew my father." Luna's expression closed off. "I knew of him." That was enough. Before Alaric could press further, Rafe approached with a serious expression. "Luna, we should show him the map." Luna shot the boy a warning look, but Rafe stood his ground. "Ease, the king. He might help." After a tense moment, Luna nodded reluctantly. "Bring it." Rafe disappeared into a small alcove at the back of the cave and returned with a rolled piece of hide. He spread it on the ground, revealing a crude but detailed map of the territories, marked with symbols and lines. "What am I looking at?" Alaric asked, crouching to examine it. "Safe routes," Luna explained, kneeling beside him. Her proximity sent an unexpected warmth through him. "Places where orphaned wolf children can be found and rescued." 3 weeks had passed since Alaric's first discovery of the hidden cave. What began as daily visits with supplies had evolved into something more: strategy sessions with Luna, stories for the children, and a growing connection that neither of them had anticipated. Today, Alaric approached the cave with a heavier heart than usual. The council meeting that morning had confirmed his fears. His commanders were indeed conducting unauthorized raids on southern villages, and worse, there was evidence of a plot against his throne. Time was running short. Luna met him at the entrance, her keen senses having detected his approach long before he arrived. The knife he'd given her was strapped to her hip, a permanent fixture now. "You're troubled," she said immediately, her amber eyes searching his face. Alaric nodded. "We need to talk." Inside, the cave had transformed over the weeks. Proper bedding replaced the scattered furs. Shelves held books and supplies. And a small table stood near the fire, where the older children practiced their letters. The improvements had been gradual to many, Changes at once would have aroused suspicion at the castle. The children greeted him with familiar enthusiasm. Little Tomas toddled over, clutching his now-beloved stuffed wolf, babbling about the big story Rafe had read him. Kira's cough had improved with proper medicine, and she smiled shyly from her corner, where she was teaching Myra to weave. Even the most wary children had warmed to him, accepting his presence as part of their routine. Outside, Luna said quietly, noting his serious expression, "Children, continue your lessons. Rafe is in charge." They slipped through a secondary exit Luna had shown him last week. Narrow passage that emerged on a small ledge overlooking the forest. The autumn leaves had mostly fallen now, revealing the skeletal beauty of the trees against the gray sky. "What's happened?" Luna asked once they were alone. Alaric took a deep breath of the crisp air. "There's a faction in my court, planning to overthrow me. They want to escalate the war, not end it." Luna's expression hardened. "Your father's loyalists." "Yes, and they know I've been disappearing into the forest. It won't be long before they send someone to follow me." "We'll move," Luna said immediately, her mind already calculating. "There's a system of caves to the east." "No," Alaric interrupted gently. "Running isn't the answer anymore." He turned to face her fully, taking in the woman who had changed everything for him. In 3 short weeks, she had challenged every assumption he'd held about his kingdom, his rule, and himself. For strength, her fierce protection of the children, her unwavering moral compass, they had awakened something in him that he couldn't ignore. "I'm taking the throne back," he said firmly. "Truly taking it. No more compromises. With warmongers, no more looking the other way. But I can't do it alone." Luna studied him, wariness and hope battling in her expression. "What are you proposing?" "Come to the castle, all of you. Not as refugees or wards, but as honored guests of the crown." Her eyes widened. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious," Alaric replied. "These children deserve to be seen, Luna. Their existence, their stories could change hearts and minds about this senseless war. And you," he hesitated, then pressed on, "you should be by my side. When I face down those who would continue my father's legacy of violence, by your side." Luna repeated, a new tension in her voice. Alaric took a risk and reached for her hand. To his surprise, she didn't pull away. "In whatever capacity you choose, as advisor, as ally," he swallowed. "As more, if you wanted." Flush colored her cheeks, but her gaze remained steady. "You're asking a lot, Alaric. These children have known nothing but betrayal from those in power. I know, but they trust you, and you," he paused. "I hope you've come to trust me, at least a little." Luna looked out over the forest, her profile sharp against the sky. "The children need stability, education. They need to stop running. I can give them that. And what about the court? Your nobles, will they accept 12 wolf orphans and a wild woman from the woods?" Alaric smiled slightly. "They'll accept what their king decrees. And those who want." His expression hardened. "Those who would rather see children suffer than end a pointless war will no longer have a place in my kingdom." Luna was silent for a long moment, weighing his words. Finally, she turned back to him. "I need to speak with the children. This must be their choice too, of course." They returned to the cave, where Luna gathered the children around the fire. With simple, honest words, she explained Alaric's proposal. The reactions were mixed: fear, excitement, disbelief. "Would we have to be separated?" Sarah asked, clutching her older brother's hand. "No," Alaric assured her. "You would stay together, as a pack." "Would there be more books?" Rafe wanted to know. "An entire library," Alaric promised. "What about Luna?" Tomas asked, his small face serious. "Will Luna come to?" All eyes turned to her, and Alaric realized with sudden clarity just how much these children loved this fierce, protective woman. She was more than their guardian, she was their heart. Luna knelt, gathering Tomas into her arms. "If we go together, always." The discussion continued, each child voicing concerns and hopes. Alaric answered honestly, making no promises he couldn't keep. Finally, Luna called for a vote-to-pack decision. as she called it. One by one, the children raised their hands in favor of Alaric's proposal, though not without trepidation. Even the youngest seemed to understand the magnitude of this change. "Then it's decided," Luna said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. "We accept your offer, Alpha King." Alaric nodded solemnly, honoring the formality of the moment. "We'll leave at first light tomorrow. Pack only. What matters most, everything else can be replaced." As the children scattered to prepare, Luna approached Alaric privately. "If this goes wrong, it won't," he interrupted. "If it does," she insisted, "promise me you'll get them to safety. Even if it means sacrificing myself," Alaric finished. "You have my word." Luna searched his face, then did something that surprised them. Both she leaned forward and pressed a brief, fierce kiss to his lips. Then, "We follow you, Alpha." The next morning, as dawn broke over the Blackwood, 13 figures emerged from a hidden cave. 12 children of various ages, and a woman with wild auburn hair. They followed a tall man through the forest, toward a castle visible in the distance. The Alpha King had found a woman protecting wolf children alone. Now, he would protect them all, and together they would forge a new future for the Kingdom One, where orphans became princes and princesses, where a wild woman from the woods stood beside the throne, and where peace finally had a chance to take root. As they walked, little Tomas slipped his hand into Alaric's, looking up with complete trust. On his other side, Luna walked with her head high, her amber eyes fixed on the horizon. "Are you afraid?" Alaric asked her quietly. Luna smiled, a rare, genuine smile that transformed her face. "Yes," she admitted, "but fear never stopped me before. Nor will it stop us now." Alaric agreed, his heart fuller than he'd ever known possible. Together, they stepped from the shadow of the trees into the sunlight, ready to face whatever came next. As a family, as a pack, as one.